What makes millions of people rewatch the same character moments over and over again? Every storyteller dreams of creating that one character who lives in the minds of their audience forever, but most struggle to get even remotely close. I've spent over 20 years studying why certain characters capture our imagination while others slip away, and in this video I'll examine 15 of the most impactful characters ever created on screen. What if I told you that one of the most powerful characters in fantasy isn't the one with the magical sword or mystical powers, but someone who never left their best friend's side? Fantasy storytelling often gets caught up in the chosen one, the prophesized hero, the wielder of incredible power. But in The Lord of the Rings, Tolkien gave us something different, a gardener who changed how we think about heroism. Sam isn't special because of destiny or magical abilities. He's special because he represents something we all desperately want: unconditional loyalty. When Frodo struggles under the weight of the ring, Sam doesn't give inspirational speeches about destiny. He simply says,
"I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you. Come on!"
In that moment, Sam teaches us that true heroism isn't about having power. It's about choosing to use whatever strength you have to help others. He shows us that sometimes the most powerful thing a character can do is simply refuse to give up on someone they love. But what makes Sam truly remarkable isn't just his loyalty, it's how that loyalty is tested. Throughout the journey, he faces moments where leaving would be the easier choice. When Frodo sends him away under the influence of the ring, Sam's heart breaks. But instead of accepting this rejection, he follows his instincts and returns just in time to save Frodo from Shelob. This is where Sam reveals one of the secrets to writing compelling supporting characters: give them their own moral compass. Sam's loyalty to Frodo isn't blind devotion. It's a choice he makes again and again, even when it conflicts with Frodo's immediate wishes. He knows when to follow and when to lead, when to support and when to challenge. And while Tolkien gave us a blueprint for Sam on paper, Sean Astin's portrayal turned these qualities into something unforgettable on screen. Through subtle expressions and earnest delivery, Astin made Sam's devotion feel genuine rather than naive. When he tears up telling Frodo,
"I made a promise, Mr. Frodo. A promise. Don't you leave him, Samwise Gamgee. And I don't mean to."
we believe every word because Astin lets us see both the weight of that promise and the determination to keep it, no matter the cost. But speaking of characters who changed how we view heroism, let's look at someone who proved that our past doesn't have to define our future. Imagine creating a character so compelling that audiences can't look away even when they can barely see the face of the character. How is that even possible? In a world of expressive heroes who wear their hearts on their sleeves, The Mandalorian showed us a different path to character depth. Hidden behind his Beskar armor, Din Djarin proves that sometimes the most powerful character moments come from what we don't see. Through carefully chosen actions rather than lengthy monologues, we learn everything we need to know about who he is. When he breaks his sacred code to save Grogu, we understand the magnitude of this choice, not because someone explains it, but because we've seen his unwavering dedication to the way in everything he does. The brilliance of the Mandalorian's character design lies in how it turns limitations into strengths. The helmet doesn't hide his character, it amplifies it by forcing us to pay attention to every choice, every gesture, every moment of silence. And in doing so, it teaches us a valuable lesson about character writing. Sometimes what we withhold can be more powerful than what we reveal. What makes this character so incredible is how he forces us to rethink traditional character development. Instead of an emotional journey told through expressions and words, we witness it through evolving actions and priorities. When he first protects Grogu, it's a job. When Din Djarin later risks everything to rescue Grogu, it's because he's become something far more, a father who's discovered his purpose through the very code he had to break. Pedro Pascal deserves immense credit for bringing this character to life while working under such constraints. Through subtle head tilts, measured movements, and masterful voice work, he conveys more emotion in a single
"This is the way"
than many actors manage in pages of dialogue. His performance teaches us that restraint isn't about limiting emotion, it's about finding new ways to express it. Personally, I've learned that writing a character like Mando isn't about compensating for what they can't show, it's about embracing those limitations and turning them into strength. Every time he chooses to keep his helmet on despite personal cost, every moment he communicates through action instead of words, we're not just seeing a character follow a code, we're seeing how dedication to principles shapes a person's entire way of being. But while some characters captivate us through restraint, others grab our attention by breaking every rule in the book. Traditional character writing tells us to maintain the fourth wall, keep our heroes grounded in their reality, and build authentic emotional connection through sincere moments. And then there's Deadpool, who shatters every one of these conventions while somehow becoming one of the most beloved characters in modern fantasy.
Oh, hello. I know, right? Whose balls did I have to fondle to get my very own movie?
The genius of Deadpool isn't just that he's funny, it's that his humor serves as both a weapon and a shield. Behind every joke and fourth wall break lies a character dealing with genuine trauma and pain. When he quips about his disfigurement or makes light of his immortality, we're seeing someone who uses comedy not just to entertain, but to survive. What makes this character truly special is how he manages to be both the ultimate fantasy and deeply human at the same time. His powers make him virtually unkillable, but his real strength lies in his resilience, not the physical kind, but the ability to face horror and heartbreak with unflagging wit and determination. Ryan Reynolds didn't just perform Deadpool, he embodied the character's essence so completely that it's now almost impossible to separate the two. His timing, physical comedy, and ability to deliver emotional truth even in the most absurd moments turned what could have been a one-note joke character into something surprisingly complex. When he reveals his face to Vanessa, the moment lands because Reynolds makes us feel both the humor and the vulnerability. As a result, I found that writing characters who break the fourth wall isn't about just making meta jokes, it's about understanding why they need to break that wall. Deadpool's awareness of his fictional nature isn't just a gimmick, it's a coping mechanism that paradoxically makes him feel more real. Having said that though, now let's look at someone who proves that sometimes the most unpredictable path is simply just the most cleverly planned. What if I told you that one of fantasy's most memorable characters succeeds not despite being unpredictable, but because no one can tell if he's brilliant or just lucky? In a genre full of straightforward heroes and calculated villains, Captain Jack Sparrow showed us something entirely different. A character who thrives in chaos while secretly orchestrating it. His journey through the Pirates franchise demonstrates how to write characters whose apparent madness masks a peculiar kind of genius. What makes Jack so fascinating is just his eccentric behavior. It's how that behavior serves as both distraction and strategy.
Me, I'm dishonest. And a dishonest man you can always trust to be dishonest.
He's not just delivering a clever line, he's revealing his entire philosophy of survival. Johnny Depp transformed what could have been a simple comedic role into something extraordinary. Through carefully crafted mannerisms and precise timing, he created a character who seems to stumble through life while actually staying 3 steps ahead. When Jack appears to be at his most confused or drunk, that's often when his most brilliant plans are unfolding. The brilliance of Jack's character design lies in how it constantly keeps both other characters and the audience guessing. Is he really drunk, or is it an act? Did he plan this chaos, or is he just exceptionally good at turning disaster to his advantage? Every time he waves his hands wildly or slurs his words, we're seeing someone who understands that appearing unpredictable is the greatest predictable advantage. For myself, I've learned that writing seemingly chaotic characters isn't about making them random. It's about carefully constructing their madness so it makes bizarre sense in hindsight. But what if instead of leading through chaos, a character has to lead from their deepest doubts? What is it that would make us follow a character who doesn't even want to lead in the first place? Traditional fantasy often gives us born leaders who embrace their destiny with unwavering confidence. But Aragorn showed us something different, a hero whose greatest strength comes from understanding the weight of power and fearing its corruption. His journey captivates us because it's not about learning to be a leader, it's about choosing to lead despite knowing exactly how heavy the crown will be. When he first appears as Strider in The Prancing Pony, shrouded in shadow and mystery, we see someone who has deliberately stepped away from greatness, not out of cowardice, but out of wisdom. Now for me, Aragorn is one of the most fascinating characters ever to come alive on screen. And the main reason for that is how his reluctance becomes his qualification for leadership. His response to the One Ring reveals everything about his character. Where others see power, he sees only the shadow of his ancestors' failure. This isn't just backstory, it's the core of who he is. Every time he chooses to serve rather than command, to protect rather than rule, we understand exactly why he'll ultimately become the king that Gondor needs. Viggo Mortensen brought this internal struggle to life with incredible nuance. In quiet moments, like when he sings the song of Luthien in Beren, Mortensen lets us see both the weight of history and the personal cost of destiny. When he finally accepts his role and rallies the army of the dead,
I am Isildur's heir. Fight for me, and I will hold your oaths fulfilled.
the moment lands because we've watched him wrestle with every step that led to this acceptance. From this, I've learned that writing reluctant leaders isn't about making them doubt themselves constantly. It's about showing how their doubts shape their strength. Every time Aragorn kneels to the hobbits, every moment he chooses to follow rather than lead, he's showing us a different kind of kingship, one earned through humility rather than birthright. But speaking of internal struggles, wait until you see how our next character turned moral ambiguity into an art form. Let me ask you this, how do you make audiences root for a character they should hate? In a universe full of heroes and villains, Loki stands apart by refusing to be either. His journey from Thor's shadowy brother to a character complex enough to carry his own series shows us how to write antagonists who transcend simple villainy. What makes Loki fascinating isn't just his mischief or his schemes, it's how every betrayal stems from a place of profound pain and understanding. When he tells Thor,
I never wanted the throne! I only ever wanted to be your equal.
we're not just hearing a villain's motivation, we're seeing the wounded heart of someone who spent their life feeling second best. Tom Hiddleston's masterful portrayal turns what could have been a one-note trickster into something so incredible. Through subtle shifts in expression and carefully measured charm, he makes us believe both Loki's capacity for cruelty and his potential for growth. When he breaks down after Frigga's death, or when he finally confronts his own glorious purpose, Hiddleston shows us the vulnerability behind the villain's mask. The brilliance of Loki's character arc lies in how it constantly challenges our expectations. Just when we think we understand his motivations, he reveals another layer. His transformation from villain to anti-hero works because it never feels like redemption, it feels like discovery. Each version of Loki we meet across the multiverse shows us another facet of who he could be, making his choices matter more because we understand what he's choosing between. I found that writing morally complex characters isn't about making them unpredictable, it's about making their unpredictability make sense. Every time Loki betrays someone, every time he chooses chaos over order, it comes from a place of authentic character motivation rather than plot convenience. But if Loki shows us how to write someone choosing between good and evil, our next character shows what happens when that choice gets taken away. What is it that turns a hero into a villain? And more importantly, what keeps audiences invested in their story even after they've fallen? The journey from Anakin Skywalker to Darth Vader represents one of storytelling's most profound character transformations. But what makes this fall so compelling isn't just the descent into darkness, it's how traces of humanity persist beneath the mask. Vader's fundamental strengths as a character aren't simply his intimidating presence or iconic design, it's how his every action is haunted by the hero he once was. When he tells Luke,
I am your father.
it's not just a shocking revelation, it's the moment where his carefully constructed identity as a merciless enforcer cracks, revealing the conflicted soul beneath. The brilliance of Vader's character lies in how his fall shapes everything about him, from his mechanical breathing to his rigid movements. David Prowse's physical performance and James Earl Jones's commanding voice work together to create something unique, a character whose very presence tells the story of what he's lost. When he finally removes his mask in Return of the Jedi, the moment is so devastating because we're seeing not just Anakin's face, but the cost of every choice that led him here. And this led me to discover that writing fallen heroes isn't about making them purely evil, it's about showing how their original virtues became corrupted. Anakin's desire to protect becomes possessiveness, his passion becomes rage, his dedication becomes obsession. Every time Vader ignites his red lightsaber, we're seeing not just a villain's weapon, but a twisted mirror of the blue blade he once wielded as a hero. But what makes this character so eternally compelling is how his redemption feels both impossible and inevitable. When he finally chooses to save Luke, sacrificing himself to defeat the Emperor, it works because we've seen the humanity struggling beneath the surface all along. Sebastian Shaw's brief but powerful performance in the unmasking scene shows us both the broken man Vader became and the hero he might have been. But with all this darkness unveiled, now imagine creating a character who hides their true nature not behind a mask, but behind wit. Let me ask you this. How does a character turn their greatest perceived weakness into their strongest weapon? In a world of knights and warriors, Tyrion Lannister showed us that sometimes the sharpest sword is the mind. His journey from despised outsider to Hand of the King demonstrates how to write characters who overcome limitations not through physical prowess, but through brilliant adaptation. Tyrion Lannister isn't just fascinating because of his wit, it's how that wit developed as a survival mechanism. When he tells Jon Snow,
"I have a tender spot in my heart for cripples, bastards, and broken things."
we're not just hearing another clever line, we're seeing someone who's learned to understand the pain of others because he's intimately familiar with his own. Peter Dinklage brought this complexity to life with extraordinary depth. His subtle expressions, his perfect timing. With all that, he shows us both Tyrion's razor-sharp intelligence and his deep wounds. When he delivers his trial speech in King's Landing, Dinklage transforms years of buried pain into controlled fury, creating one of television's most powerful moments of character revelation in my opinion.
I wish I was the monster you think I am. I wish I had enough poison for the whole pack of you. I would gladly give my life to watch you all swallow it.
The genius of Tyrion's character design lies in how it subverts traditional fantasy tropes about power and heroism. His greatest victories don't come from winning battles with a sword, but from understanding people and politics. Whether he's defending King's Landing through strategy or navigating court intrigue, he shows us that true power often lies in the ability to outthink rather than outfight. From that, I've learned that writing characters who rely on intelligence isn't just about making them clever, it's about showing how that cleverness emerged from necessity. Every time Tyrion talks his way out of danger, and every moment he turns a potential weakness into strength, we're seeing someone who's spent a lifetime learning to use his mind because society never gave him another choice. Moving on, what if a character's greatest battle isn't against others though, but against their own nature? What happens when you write a character who has all the power in the universe, but doesn't understand a simple human emotion? In the world of Supernatural, angels were meant to be soldiers, powerful, obedient, and detached. But Castiel showed us something different, an immortal being whose greatest journey wasn't across heaven and hell, but toward understanding humanity. What makes Castiel remarkable isn't just his celestial power, it's how his gradual understanding of human nature transforms him. When he first appears, crackling with otherworldly energy, he's purely angelic, but it's his confusion over simple human concepts that make him unforgettable. Every time he tilts his head in bewilderment or takes a figure of speech literally, we're seeing divinity struggling to comprehend humanity. Misha Collins brought this complex character to life through subtle, brilliant choices. His slightly stiff posture, formal speech patterns, and deadpan delivery of human idioms created a character who feels genuinely otherworldly. But when Castiel begins to care, when he chooses humanity over heaven's orders, Collins lets us see the cost of that choice in every gesture and expression. The brilliance of Castiel's character arc lies in how his growing humanity becomes both his greatest strength and deepest struggle. Through this, I found that writing non-human characters isn't about making them completely alien. It's about finding those specific moments where the inability to understand human nature reveals something profound about what makes us human. Every time Castiel struggles with human customs, every moment he chooses free will over obedience, he's showing us our own world through fresh eyes. The question is if we like what we see. Now for our next character, let's look back at someone who proved that the darkest stories can hide the brightest hearts. How do you write a character so complex that audiences spend years debating whether they are a hero or a villain? In the stories of Harry Potter, filled with clearly defined good and evil, Severus Snape existed in the shadows between. His journey from apparent villain to a revealed hero demonstrates how to create characters whose true nature remains compelling even after all their secrets are exposed. What makes Snape so fascinating isn't just his ultimate revelation as Dumbledore's man, it's how every seemingly villainous action takes on new meaning in retrospect. Alan Rickman's portrayal transformed what could have been another one-note character into something unbelievable. Through measured pauses and carefully controlled emotion, he lets us see hints of Snape's true nature long before it was revealed. When he finally shares his memories in The Prince's Tale, Rickman's performance makes every past interaction take on new meaning. The genius of Snape's character design lies in how it plays with our expectations of good and evil. His apparent cruelty to Harry serves as the perfect cover for his true mission. When we finally learn about his love for Lily and his promise to protect her son, it works because we've seen the depth of his dedication in every harsh action he took to maintain his cover. Personally, that taught me that writing morally ambiguous characters isn't about keeping them mysterious. It's about making their revealed truth feel inevitable in hindsight. In every moment Snape seems to betray Harry or apparently serving Voldemort, he's actually showing us the lengths he'll go to honor a promise made to a lost love. Would you have been able to do the same? But now that we've seen how to write characters who hide their true nature beneath deception, let's look at someone who hides in plain sight, choosing darkness not to deceive, but to inspire. What if I told you that one of the most enduring fantasy characters of our time never needed superpowers to captivate audiences? In a world of superheroes who can fly, shoot lasers, or bend reality, the Dark Knight version of Batman showed us something different, how fear can become a weapon for justice. His journey from traumatized child to Gotham's Guardian represents the peak of what determination can achieve without supernatural aid. What makes Batman memorable isn't his gadgets or his wealth, it's how he transformed his deepest trauma into purpose. When he tells Rachel,
"It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me."
we're not just hearing a hero's declaration, we're seeing someone who's learned to weaponize their own darkness. Christian Bale brought this complexity to life through a masterful understanding of duality. His Bruce Wayne isn't just playing a careless billionaire, he's showing us how Batman uses every aspect of his life as a weapon in his war on crime. When he growls,
I'm Batman.
Bale makes us believe both the intimidation and the man choosing to become something more than human. The fascinating part of Batman's character design lies in how it turns traditional superhero tropes on their head. His greatest power isn't physical strength or advanced technology, it's his ability to turn his own fear into something criminals will fear even more. When we see him disappear into the shadows, every moment he uses theatrical intimidation, we're also seeing someone who's mastered the very thing that once mastered him. As a result, I found that writing non-powered heroes isn't about compensating for their lack of abilities, it's about showing how their limitations become their strength. When Batman as a character outsmarts Superman or stands up to gods, it works because we've seen how thoroughly he's trained both his body and mind to transcend human limits. But while Batman shows us controlled rage, our next character demonstrates what happens when fury becomes an art form. In the world of mutants with flashy powers and grand ideologies, Logan stands apart through raw primal humanity. His journey from mysterious loner to reluctant hero shows us how to write characters whose emotional scars make their physical invulnerability meaningful. What fascinates me the most about Wolverine isn't his healing factor or his adamantium claws, it's how these powers serve as a metaphor for his inability to escape his past. When he tells Rogue, the pain lets you know you're still alive, we're not just hearing tough guy dialogue, we're seeing someone who understands that healing doesn't mean forgetting. Hugh Jackman transformed this character from a comic book favorite into a cultural icon through sheer commitment to Logan's emotional truth. From his first appearance in X-Men to his devastating finale in Logan, Jackman showed us both the animal fury and the wounded heart beneath. When he holds Professor X in his final moments, decades of character development culminate in pure raw emotion. The genius of Wolverine's character lies in how his physical invulnerability contrasts with his emotional vulnerability. Yes, he can heal from any wound, but the scars of his past remain. Every time he pops his claw, every berserker rage, we're seeing someone who's learned to use pain as both a weapon and a shield. And from that, I've learned that writing wounded characters isn't about making them constantly angstly. It's about showing how their trauma shapes their strength. Through Logan, we see how someone can be both desperately alone and fiercely protective. How the same rage that makes him dangerous also makes him the perfect guardian for those in need. But with this out of the way, wait until you see how our next character redefined what's possible. What happens when a character discovers that everything they believed about the world is a lie? In The Matrix, Neo's journey from office worker to humanity's savior shows us something unprecedented. A hero who must first question the nature of reality itself before he can begin to change it. His transformation isn't just about gaining power, it's about fundamentally shifting how he perceives existence. What makes Neo remarkable is about more than his ability to manipulate the Matrix. It's how his growing awareness changes everything we thought we knew about power. When he finally sees the code of the Matrix, we're not just watching someone learn a new skill, we're seeing someone transcend the very rules of their universe. His famous "I know Kung Fu" moment works because it's both a revelation about his capabilities and a fundamental shift in how he understands reality. Keanu Reeves brought this evolution to life through a carefully measured performance that mirrors Neo's own awakening. His initial confusion and disbelief feel genuine, making his transformation into the One all the more powerful. When he finally stops dodging bullets and simply raises his hand to hold them, Reeves makes us believe both the power and the profound understanding behind it. The fundamental strengths of Neo's character's design lie in how it parallels our own questioning of reality. Every step of his journey from taking the red pill to his final sacrifice forces us to examine our own assumptions about what's possible. I've discovered that writing characters who question reality isn't just about creating cool what-if scenarios. It's about showing how fundamental shifts in understanding change everything that follows. Just look at how every time Neo breaks a rule of the Matrix, he's not just displaying power, he's showing us that limitations only exist because we believe in them. But if Neo shows us how to question everything, the next character proves that sometimes the real magic lies in knowing exactly who you are. When I think about Harry Potter, the first thing isn't necessarily thinking about Voldemort or Harry himself. I think about a character who actually starts out to be impossibly annoying, but then develops into one of the most fascinating characters of all the stories in my opinion. Because what makes Hermione so captivating isn't just her intelligence, it's how she shows us that knowledge itself is a form of magic. When she first appears on the Hogwarts Express, correcting Ron's spell and fixing Harry's glasses, we're not just meeting a clever student, we're seeing someone who understands that preparation and learning are their own kind of power. Emma Watson brought this character to life by showing us both Hermione's brilliance and her human struggles. Her delivery of
"It's Leviosa, not Leviosa"
isn't just about being right, it's about a young witch using knowledge to prove her worth in a world where she feels like an outsider. When she falls apart after Ron leaves in Deathly Hallows, Watson shows us that all the knowledge in the world doesn't protect you from heartbreak. In a genre filled with chosen ones and natural talents, Hermione succeeds through sheer determination and intellectual curiosity. Every time she saves the day with a well-researched spell or a remembered fact, she's showing us that being the smartest person in the room is its own kind of magic. This helped me understand that writing intellectual heroes isn't just about making them know everything, it's about showing the cost and value of that knowledge. When Hermione uses a time turner to take extra classes, when she spends countless hours in the library, when she prepares for every possibility, we're seeing someone who understands that true power comes from never stopping learning. Watson's portrayal makes us believe both Hermione's incredible capabilities and her very human insecurities. When she punches Draco Malfoy or leads Umbridge into the forest, we're seeing someone who's learned to combine knowledge with action, proving that wisdom without courage is just trivia. But leaving the wizarding world behind us, for our final character, let's look at someone who took the oldest trope in fantasy and made it feel brand new. Have you ever wondered why some mentor characters feel like walking exposition dumps while others become legendary? In fantasy storytelling, the wise mentor often serves as little more than a plot device, someone to explain the rules of magic or hand over the magical MacGuffin. But Gandalf showed us that a mentor can be something far more interesting, a character whose greatest wisdom lies in knowing when not to help. What makes Gandalf fascinating isn't his impressive magical powers or his ancient wisdom, it's his restraint. When Frodo offers him the ring, he recoils in fear knowing his own limitations. When the Fellowship faces challenges, he doesn't solve every problem with a wave of his staff. Instead, he guides, suggests, and sometimes simply trusts. Sir Ian McKellen brought this complexity to life with extraordinary subtlety. In his performance, we see both the weight of centuries and the twinkle of mischief, the power of a demigod and the humility of a teacher. When he tells Frodo,
All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us.
McKellen delivers it not as a lofty pronouncement, but as a friend sharing a hard-won truth. And when Gandalf finally does unleash his full power, it means something precisely because of his restraint. His "you shall not pass" moment against the Balrog becomes legendary not just because of McKellen's commanding delivery, but because we've seen Gandalf hold back so many times before.
You shall not pass!
When he finally stands alone on that bridge, staff raised and voice thundering, we understand that this isn't just a display of power, it's a sacrifice he makes knowing it's the only way to give others a chance to fulfill their own destiny. The strength of Gandalf's character design lies in how it subverts our expectations of what a powerful wizard should be. His most important moments often come not when he's wielding great power, but when he's choosing not to use it. He shows us that true wisdom isn't about having all the answers, it's about knowing when to let others find their own path. But with all these insights from individual characters, it is important to remember that developing them in isolation usually comes with a lot of risk. So watch this video here next, where I walk you through the concept of the four-corner opposition to ensure that your supporting cast doesn't undermine all the potential of the iconic characters you want to create.